So ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a bombshell. This involves one of sneakers' biggest retailers in Foot Locker, probably a sneaker store which many of you guys have some early memories of purchasing, like maybe say your first pair of sneakers. For me as a kid growing up in the 90s, you know, before the internet, believe it or not, there was a time before the internet. We pretty much just had like your East Bay catalog where you could flip through the pages, taking a look at the latest releases from Adidas, Reebok, Nike, or Jordan brand, or essentially you would have to actually take yourself in store to check out what was on shelves. So whether it was like a regional spot, locally, like a mom and pop shop, or a Foot Locker, which was pretty much available in most areas. I definitely got some memories of my mom taking me to Foot Locker, buying some of my first pair of sneakers, like, you know, it was definitely always a pair of Nikes, most definitely, whether it was like the Jason Kidd, them joints that went on to inspire the Drake Nocta joints. You also got the CB94s from Charles Barkley, the Barry Sanders Nike joints, you know, from like the mid 90s, and even a couple of pairs of Jordans, you know, here and there, just like some great memories of purchasing shoes from Foot Locker as a kid. So of course, you know, throughout the years, Foot Locker's business structure has changed. A lot more competitors have came to the market. Plus you got the whole e-commerce thing, internet, people buying shoes online and everything. So Foot Locker, you know, things have definitely declined. I think it's good to say that, you know, whether you could blame it on the competition, e-commerce, whatever, you know, Foot Locker was definitely kind of in a time of decline. So on top of all of that, you also got to factor in Nike, you know, during 2020, during the pandemic and everything like that. Their CEO at the time, he made a business decision, you know, with e-commerce on the rise to, you know, pull some of their releases from Foot Locker, which you normally would see premier releases on the shelves at Foot Locker, no longer. It looks like Nike made the decision to kind of opt into dropping everything exclusively via the Sneakers app, a move which at the time was great, but then again, everybody was locked inside. So that turned out to be great, but it's kind of a move that, you know, we all know historically didn't go too well and kind of bit Nike in the butt. So the fact that Nike removed a lot of their releases from in-store drops at Foot Locker as well as other retail partners, Foot Locker wasn't about to just sit around and just like sell like trash releases. You know, they went ahead and stocked their shelves with the latest from New Balance, On Cloud Emerge, Asics as well. And in return, you know, people were buying up those pairs, and later on Nike definitely admitted that they were wrong and, you know, retooled, and they're building up those partnerships back again with their retail partners, including Foot Locker. Foot Locker even acquired a new CEO. They've been in the process of like rebuilding a lot of their stores. You know, a lot of Foot Lockers are located in malls, which, you know, nowadays malls ain't even as packed as they used to be. So Foot Locker, they've been doing this massive retooling of a lot of their stores and everything like that. But this latest bombshell, you know, it's just kind of crazy right here. We know Foot Locker, although they were on the decline, it seemed like things were on the up for the company, but apparently it looks like DSG, aka Dick's Sporting Goods, has now acquired Foot Locker for what they're saying $2.4 billion. So kind of crazy. I mean, you know, with Foot Locker and everything, I'm seeing a lot of titles, a lot of clickbait saying Foot Locker is going out of business and everything. So quick spoiler alert, Foot Locker is not going out of business. And with this merging, or with DSG now acquiring them, they actually are going to continue to maintain the Foot Locker brand and everything. All of the umbrellas under Foot Locker, such as Women's Foot Locker, Kids Foot Locker, that will all still be intact and everything like that. But let's go ahead and check out what this article is saying, get down to the nitty gritty of everything like that, and see what it means for us here as sneakerheads and consumers. So we're taking a look at this article courtesy of CNBC, which we did hear some talk of this actually happening last night, but it looks like as of this morning, things are 100% official. So it reads, Dick's Sporting Goods said Thursday it plans to acquire rival Foot Locker as it looks to expand its international presence, win over a new set of consumers, and corner the Nike sneaker market, which is very interesting, which we're going to get into the whole Nike relationship here shortly. But when it comes to Dick's Sporting Goods, a brand which I kind of think of when I think of DSG, I'm thinking of like a place where you go to like pick up like a hunting gear or like sneakers, which you're looking more for like the performance side of things. So maybe like a pair of football cleats, something like that. But as of recent years, you know, DSG, they've definitely, you know, expanded, got into more of like the hype sneaker space, carrying some of Nike's more premier releases. But as you guys know, the landscape has changed, you know, over the last couple of years. So it's kind of interesting to see, you know, what was the whole point of DSG actually acquiring Foot Locker, due to the fact that, you know, they substantially do much bigger business than Foot Locker. So we'll see what it's all about. And remember, guys, Foot Locker is not closing They're just looking to kind of expand things here under the new merger right here. So it says, under the terms of the agreement, Dick's will use a combination of cash on hand and new debt to acquire Foot Locker for $2.4 billion. So I'm sure you guys aren't so interested in like how they're acquiring them, how they're raising the cash and everything, but the number stands out, $2.4 billion, right? Wouldn't y'all think that like a, well-established brand like Foot Locker, which has been around for decades, remember, you got Women's Foot Locker, Champs, Kids Foot Locker, a whole bunch of different little entities under that name and umbrella. Wouldn't you think that they would be worth a little bit more than $2.4 billion? But I guess that's just really a sign of kind of like how bad Foot Locker has done. So in recent years, Foot Locker has brought a new CEO into the mix. It seemed like things were kind of doing better for them, but I guess they couldn't pass up on this opportunity right here. So by joining forces with Dick's, Foot Locker will be even in better position to expand sneaker culture, elevate the omni-channel experience for customers and brand partners, and enhance our position in the industry. And that comes directly from Foot Locker's current CEO, Mary Dillon. So I guess she's referring to kind of like retooling, restructuring a lot of their stores, which we've seen already happening. So that's cool or whatever, but I still don't really understand, why DSG would want to acquire Foot Locker, which is one of their direct rivals. Well, I guess that's why. It's one of their direct competitors, right? So we got DSG, Foot Locker, Champs, all this, companies that are under that umbrella. And then I guess you pretty much got like JD Sports, Hibberts, which are like the three big players. So with Foot Locker and DSG coming together, I don't know, things could get interesting, but I wonder how it kind of will affect us here as consumers. So let's continue on. So it says, while the companies are longtime rivals, which I just mentioned, both competing to sell the same brands in their stores, Dick's, is almost double the size of Foot Locker in terms of revenue. Thank you for clarifying that it was in terms of revenue, double the size, right? I guess that was a bad joke. So in their most recent fiscal years, Dick's reported $13.44 billion in revenue. That's crazy. While Foot Locker saw $7.99 billion. So they're doing double the amount of sales, which I guess makes sense. I mean, when you think of a Dick's Sporting Goods, while they do have locations in the mall, they also have many like standalone locations, and them joints are huge, sometimes like 2 stories high. So I guess Dick's is definitely doing their thing. I guess they do offer, a more wide range of services, as I mentioned, like hunting, performance, stuff like that, as well as like the latest hype releases. You also got like the old folks Hoka on Cloud joints in there as well. And it seems like even DSG offers like a bigger selection of clothing and everything than Foot Locker as well. So I could see it. Now it says Dick's said it expects to operate Foot Locker as a standalone business unit within its portfolio and maintaining the company brands Foot Locker Kids, WSS, Champs, and Atmos. What's WSS? We know of Atmos. I didn't even know they were under the Foot Locker umbrella. And then of course, you got Champ Sport. What happened to Foot Action? Weren't they under that umbrella as well? So I've been seeing some people saying that like Foot Locker is over. They're closing business, they're closing shops and everything like that. So that's not gonna be the case, y'all. Looks like business is gonna continue to operate, as expected, but everything under the DSG umbrella. So it says the merger brings together 2 iconic names in sports retailing and will give Dick's a massive competitive edge in the wholesale sneaker market, most importantly for Nike products. All right, so I think this is where things are getting a little bit juicier. Plus, I believe with the fact that Foot Locker is kind of like more of an internationally based business. Again, they've been around for decades. This is DSG's way of kind of just expanding. They're well known here in the States, but as far as internationally, they may not even have any locations, across the water. So it says currently Nike's primary wholesale partners are Dick's, Foot Locker, and JD Sports, okay? If the merger is approved, the combined company would be able to corner the Nike market at a time where the sneaker giant is more reliant on wholesale than in years past. So it says if the merger is approved, okay? So it looks like things haven't been all the way approved just yet, but my guess would be, under our current administration with Donald Trump, in the way that he be kind of operating and doing things, I would definitely say that he probably wouldn't have anything against this, with all of his wild, radical policies, if you want to even call it that. We're not a political channel, and I could really care less about politics, but it seems like Donald Trump, he's kind of one of them dudes that would just like let things slide. Whereas like if maybe under previous administrations, they would have been a little more critical and maybe try to put a stop to this, but seems like Donald's all in favor of stuff like this. So I'm guessing the merger will probably go through. It reads, the acquisition will also allow Dick's to enter the international markets for the first time, as Foot Locker operates 2,400 retail stores in 20 countries, and it gives access to the type of consumer who doesn't usually shop at its stores. Wait, what they trying to talk about right here? So it says, the Dick's customer tends to be affluent, suburban, and older, while the Foot Locker customer is urban. What the hell? Younger and more likely to be lower and middle income. Damn. They trying us right here. So it says the latter customer has long underpinned sneaker culture and is critical for Dick's to reach long-term growth and competitive advantage. That's a whole pause right there. Bro, CNBC, I ain't gonna lie, they need to hire like some proofreaders right here. They put that this merger is critical for Dick's to reach long-term growth. Huge pause on that one right there, but let me stop with the jokes right here. So they're essentially saying that DSG's customer base is older, more wealthy, more suburban, probably looks a certain type of way, whereas they're, I guess based off their research, Foot Locker's customer is the more urban, younger audience, which I thought that was the audience that was spending the most money, but it seems like the DSG audience, they bringing in that 14 billion revenue. But by combining everything together, it almost seems like DSG's trying to like have a little monopoly on the market. So in a note on Thursday, TD Cohen called the deal a strategic mistake as it downgraded shares of Dick's to hold from buys. So these are analysts, right? Which they're pretty much giving their input on the deal right here. And based off what analysts are saying, they really don't see what was the point of this happening. So it also reads, analyst John Kernan said the deal is likely to produce low returns and presents clear risks to synergies, integration, and the structural foundation of Foot Locker's business. Kernan expects the return on capital to be low and said it raises balance sheet risk. Yeah, I mean, I don't really see what's happening, but you know, then again, I'm just like a basic old little YouTuber just reporting the news right here. So I guess from the looks of things, seems like DSG, they're looking to have a little monopoly here on the sneaker game. So it says there's little to no presence of M&A at a scale creating value for shareholders within Softlines retail. In our view, there are countless examples of M&A destroying millions of dollars in value since we have covered the sector, said Kernan. So that seems to be a little bit of business jargon, but analysts, they're not really happy with the move. Well, I mean, they could care less, but they feel like it's gonna just bring in small, slow returns for the company. So I would love to know what you guys think here. I think the most interesting takeaways from this is kind of the fact that DSG was doing double the amount of revenue as Foot Locker. Seems like Foot Locker, although they were kind of slowly on the incline, things weren't as great, you know, as they kind of portrayed, you know, behind the scenes. And as far as the merger, it seems like DSG, they're kind of trying to have a bigger presence as far as being one of Nike's retail partners. We know Nike, they're crawling back to their retail partners after that mess up of trying to drop everything via the sneakers app. And I feel like with DSG cornering the market, it's pretty much just DSG and JD Sports as Nike's big partners right now. And with them having almost like 3/4 of the market share to themselves, maybe they'll leverage with Nike, maybe to have some exclusive drops available in their stores, maybe get more premier releases in store, and just overall have a stronger presence. Because although New Balance, Asics, On Cloud, they've been doing their things, we all know the sneaker market flourishes the most when Nike is at the top. So let me know what y'all think about this one right here. DSG acquiring Foot Locker in a bombshell sale, $2.4 billion. Doesn't it seem like it's a little bit of money, right? But as far as for us here as consumers, we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe this will be a great thing. Foot Locker could possibly expand. I love Foot Locker. You know, the iconic stripes will always be embedded in my head. So I guess this is a good move. We'll see how it all plays out, but Foot Locker is not closing. Let me know what y'all think about it. JA News. I'll catch you guys next time. Salute.